The worst career advice I ever gave that changed someone's life. No, not like the way you are thinking. Here's what happened. A senior leader once came to me with a lot of struggles around team collaboration, conflicts, politics, and a lot of team dynamics. I gave the brilliant advice, at least I thought so. I gave them a clear framework, I gave them everything that needed to be done for team collaboration. Here's what happened. 3 months later, the result was zero. There's nothing that changed in that team. That's the hardest lesson that I learned in my leadership coaching journey. Hi, my name is Sandhyaa S Pillai. I'm an executive coach and I have been working with senior leaders, specifically C-suite and D-suite leaders for the last 14 years. And I've also worked with leaders through mentoring, training, and coaching around 20,000 leaders and so. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of us end up are addicted to giving advice, which is also completely destroying the leadership potential. What if I ask you not to give advice? You would really look at me amazed, right? How is that even possible? But we need to stop giving advice when it's not needed and when it's not asked. What it changes for us is what we are going to explore in the video. Here's the powerful truth about leadership. It's about learning when to stop not to give advice altogether. Wait, you would ask me, Sandhyaa, how is that even possible? Leaders are supposed to provide solutions, aren't they? Picture this. A team member just walks into your cabin and asks for advice about the presentation, and they just want some ideas. You jump into giving solution because that's what most of us do, right? And why would you do that? Because it's efficient, it's time saving, and you have the knowledge and expertise, so you believe that you're sharing the knowledge. But here's what's happening beneath the surface. The other person feels you don't trust them enough. You don't think they're capable of giving solutions, and you also don't think you need to take their opinions. And the most important part is you've not prepared them to think creatively or critically about their own presentation. What if I tell you the unsolicited advice that we end up giving most of the times is a missed opportunity for someone to build their leadership lesson, right? Think about actually how many potential leaders have you worked with where they're all perpetually dependent on you today. Is that what we want as a leadership pipeline? Think also about the fact, what is unadvising? And you would ask me what it is. Unadvising is not about doing nothing at all. It is about stepping back, pausing, and asking the right questions. And it's also not about you not giving solutions at all. It is about deciding when to stop and when to stop it altogether. So ask the right question, give them the space to explore, and also give them the trust and confidence that they have the solutions with them. Try that with some of your team members and see what you're building in future for them. The best leaders don't create followers, they create more leaders. What would change in your organization if your team started looking actually within for answers, right? Everything would change. Okay, but now you would tell me, Sandhyaa, I actually feel guilty that I'm abandoning my team. I am not really there. What is my purpose? What am I supposed to do? Let me clarify. Unadvising is not about stepping away from your team and not being there for them. What it means is you are actually there for them only when they need it, and we don't get into advising when it's not needed as well, right? Now, there are 3 things that you could do. Let's look at the 3 steps. The first step is a 5-second rule. The second is basically pivoting, which means you are seeking permission and you're asking the right question. So here, instead of telling, you're asking. And the last one is permission. Let me break it down and make it clear for you. The 5-second. When they come to you asking about a problem, pause, take a few breaths, and then ask them. Or in fact, ask yourself, do you think they need a solution from you, or do you think they have the capability to find it themselves? Second, now that you've identified that they can, ask some of those questions that we discussed earlier, right? What is it that you've tried? What are the options you've considered? Have you looked at all the options and what is the obstacle? Where do you think I can help or support you in this process? And so this is the second part where you're actually asking them questions and you're waiting for them to respond. Encourage and give them the space to respond. Do not interrupt. The second most important, do not layer your questions one after the another. That's also confusing. So one question, pause, wait for them to answer, give them the space, and move to the third part, which is permission. Here's where you step in and ask for permission if they need your advice or do they need something from you. And how do you do that? Hey, you know what? I think in my 14 years experience, I have faced something similar. Would you want something from my experience? Here, you are not forcing your advice on them. It's a collaborative method. It's not directive. You're also involving them in that decision making. Let me give you an example here. There is a director level client that I was working with, and he ends up micromanaging most of the time. That's the feedback we got in most of the engagement surveys. Here's what we just changed for him in the unadvising coaching. One question that we made him ask actually, is great question. What do you think you could do here? And that's what he did with most of his team members. We asked him to, of course, use the 5-second rule because he would jump into micromanaging and giving advice and solutions. But we asked him to just pause and ask this question. Great question. What do you think you would do in this situation? You know what changed? Everything changed about the confidence level in the team. In the engagement surveys, we saw 40% increase in the confidence. Innovation in the team increased. Interestingly, this director came back and said he also has added hours back in his own routine and schedule today. And this is the power of unadvising. Now here, I'm not saying that we do not give advice at all, right? Most of you I know when hearing me would be wondering, why am I constantly talking about not giving solution? Now here are 4 situations where you should be actually giving the advice or solutions if needed. 1, most important, if there is an ethical issue or a crisis or a disaster, they need your solution and expertise, we should do that. If it's a timeline driven project, time sensitive as well, you should give your advice and solutions. If it's also some of these people or new hires or first time managers who are learning the ropes of the trade, you give them advice because they need direct instructions at that phase of their career, right? Also, when you feel that this person has invested time in finding the solutions, they're sharing the framework with you, all that they need is you to guide them. Please go ahead and do that. So please understand there is a difference between rescuing and empowering. I hope you know that, and I'm very sure after watching this video, you know when to advise and when not to jump into advising. So these are some of the things that we are going to focus on to ensure that the leaders that we are building are not just blindly following, and also we are making them dependent on our decisions. We are creating leaders who make their own decisions and pave the path. Do you remember the advice that I gave? In fact, the story that I was talking about at the beginning of the session, that the worst career advice that I gave, here is what I did the second time. The second time they came to me because it didn't work after 3 months after all. So I asked them the same questions. What do you think you would have done? What does your gut feeling say? They actually found a way after 1 hour of that conversation. Not my way, their own way. And they kind of owned it. They became the owners and the executors of that exact framework that they came up with. Not that they didn't need my advice 6 months later, they did. But at that juncture, they got the confidence that they had it in them. So this is exactly what this real talk and real conversation was about. It's not about the fact that unadvising is being less for your team. It's about being there when they want you to be there, and also stepping back when you want them to give the space to get empowered or grow. So stop giving advices when there is not a need for that, and start creating leaders who can take ownership. Thank you so much.